Apachu. Apachu and his friends. They love nuts so much that they would collect nuts all summer long so that in the winter they were nice and toasty and warm and they had lots and lots to eat. One winter, Apachu and his friends decided maybe there's some nuts that they haven't thought about that is out there for the world to eat and they're missing out on it. So they got up from their tree and they headed out. They headed outside and they said, oh my gosh, there are nuts, but they're all frozen. Apachu put a bet with his friends and said, you know what? I'm going to collect all these nuts and I'm going to see which one thaws the best. Hey friends, why don't we all do this together? Apachu and his friends said that they're going to have a contest and see who collects the most amount of nuts. Apachu's friends Mimi and Dudu decided that they too are going to collect nuts since Apachu came back with a bag full of frozen nuts for them to eat. Now, the problem is that how are they going to thaw these nuts to eat them? It was freezing cold in the winter and there was lots and lots of snow outside and these nuts were so frozen over that even putting it in front of the fireplace wasn't doing anything. They put it in the fire, it didn't thaw. They put it in boiling water, it didn't thaw. They decided, oh my gosh, now we have an issue. What are we going to do with frozen nuts? We can't eat them and we're frozen over too. Apachu came up with a brilliant idea. Apachu said, what if we build a fire inside the tree? That way, the whole tree will light on fire and all the nuts will come to life. Apachu's friend said, oh, that's a great idea, Apachu. We'll have all these extra nuts to eat. They started collecting twigs and branches and anything they could find that could light. And they filled the tree full of these things and stood back while the flames engulfed the entire tree. Now they didn't think that the nuts are going to then disappear with the tree. They didn't think about that. So what ended up happening, Daria? What ended up happening was that Apachu and his friends lost all the nuts they even collected for the winter from the summer. Now what are they going to do? Apachu thought and thought. We have a little bit of a problem. We have no lunch or dinner or lunch or dinner or lunch or dinner for the next 30 days. Apachu's mom came out of hiding and said, Apachu, you shouldn't have done that without discussing it with me first. How could you have taken all the nuts in the village and burnt them to a crisp? What are we going to do now to eat? Apachu said, don't worry, Mom. I'm going to go out and save the day. I'm going to go treading into the vast land and I'm going to find out who has what plans to do, who has plans to save other nuts from the summer. Apachu treads out with his gear. He treads out with this big bow because he said, I'm going to use this big bow to collect as many nuts as possible. I'm going to also use this net to collect as many nuts as possible. Apachu put on his snowshoes and treaded out in the snow. 1 foot in front of the other. 1 foot in front of the other. 1 foot in front of the other. And he was so tired because after just 15 steps, Apachu said, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I don't know what to do. And I have to bring back food for everybody. Suddenly, out of hiding came a little... Suddenly, out of hiding came a little lion. The lion was just a cub, but the lion could hear Apachu's crying and moaning and moaning and groaning. So the lion said, oh, hi, what has happened to you? Why are you crying and moaning and groaning? And Apachu said, oh, you know what I did? I burnt all our food for the winter So now none of the people in my village have anything to eat. I have to go out and get all the food possible, and I don't know what to do. Oh, that doesn't sound good, said the cub. That doesn't sound good at all. What are you going to do? Apachu said, I have no idea. All I know is I have to hurry up because for lunch we have nothing and it's already 9 o'clock in the morning. The cub said, I know. I have an idea. Why don't I check what we have to eat in our cave? The lion cub goes into the cave and looks around. The lion cub then comes out with a big piece of meat and says, oh, will this do? Apachu said, no, this won't do. How will this do? That doesn't make any sense. We eat nuts. So then the lion cub said, I know, there's this witch that sits in front of the tree over here. She can maybe help you. Apachu goes to the witch, 1 foot in front of the other. And the witch says, oh, Apachu dear, I knew you were coming. And Apachu said, oh my gosh, how did you know? And the witch said, that's because I take care of all the trees in the forest and they told me. And Apachu said, oh my gosh, that's amazing. The witch said, you shouldn't have burned down the tree, Apachu. That was very bad of you. Now, if you do something really nice for somebody, then I promise you I'll give you nuts for the entire winter. Apachu said, oh, that's amazing. That would really help me out. So the witch said, okay, so this is what you'll have to do. You have to do something nice for this cub since he tried to help you. And then in return, I'll give you nuts for the entire winter. Apachu said, okay, I will do that. He goes back to the cub and says, cub, what would you like? Oh, what happened? What happened? And then you know what happened? Apachu said, I will help everybody. So he goes and he collects meat for the entire winter for the cub, and he builds a little house for the cub from twigs and stones and a little cubby hole so the cub can play while the mommy and daddy are away. And then the witch granted Apachu all the nuts that they could eat for the winter. And Apachu went back to the village and everybody was happy and joyous and dancing and prancing and playing and singing. And they were all happy. The end.